All right. Hey, everybody. We got to do the Ruby Franke recent updates. So, Ruby Franke, let's get into it. I'm Elise Bradley. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping in. Oh yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and click the notification button to get notified. Do all the things that YouTube tells you to do. Ruby Franke had her hearing in court on Monday, the 18th of 2022. So Monday, December 18th of 2023. Did I say 2022? Damn, I'm going back here. Ruby Franke had a famous YouTube channel called 8 Passengers, where she talked about her parenting styles and gave advice to people about parenting. I never watched her channel because I wasn't a parent at the time and probably couldn't relate, but over 1 point some odd million people found her to either be very helpful or just interesting. They just kept watching it like a car crash. She was arrested in the fall of 2023, and she just had her court hearing on Monday, December 18th of 2023. She did plead guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. The main reason why this lady did this, I'm going to call her lady, why she did this was because her children were evil and possessed, and this was their way of being able to repent for being evil. I don't know how she came to the conclusion, but so only 2 of her children were the ones that endured this much child abuse. But looking back at her channel, her parenting styles were aggressive, in my opinion. So I don't really know. But she had 6 children. She has 6 children. At this hearing, she took a deep breath before pleading guilty to the first 3 accounts. But before she said, "I'm guilty" to the 4th account, this is what she said. She was fighting back emotions when she said, "With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children, I am guilty." So we are glad that she is taking some accountability and pleading guilty to these charges. After she pleads guilty, Judge John J. Walton has scheduled her sentencing for February 20th of 2024. So we're not there yet for her sentencing. That will be coming up soon. Part of her accepting this plea agreement does involve them talking about new details of the child abuse as a whole. Also, she has to agree to go to prison. That's part of the deal. So Franke does agree to go to prison, and with her sentencing, she will have to serve all of them all together all at once. So the sentencing is up to the judge, and we will hear what he has to say on February 20th. So under Utah law, 2nd degree aggravated child abuse can be charged if the person knowingly or intentionally inflicts harm on their child or allows somebody else to inflict harm on their child. Each charge can carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison. So if she's got 4 counts she's pleading guilty to, she can get up 1 to 15 years of each of those counts that she will have to serve consecutively in prison. So she's going to prison. We just don't know how freaking long she's going to go. But we all kind of hope, after hearing and seeing and reading, that it matches the crime. It matches the crime. Her defense team, Wimmer Law, had this to say after her pleading guilty. They said in a statement on Friday that the abuse occurred while Franke was influenced by a relationship counselor, Hildebrandt, and that is what led to her distorted sense of morality. She was a devoted mother and a woman committed to always growing and improving. Like, life was about her improvement. But her distorted morality happened when she was influenced by a counselor, a woman named Hildebrandt. Jody Hildebrandt, to be exact. Franke believed that Hildebrandt gave insight in a way for her to even grow further in improvement of being a woman and a mother. She said, Hildebrandt took advantage of this by twisting it into something heinous. But this was Ruby Franke's statement that the law firm put out. Her statement says, as she has been incarcerated, she has actively engaged in an introspection that has allowed her to reset her moral compass and understands the full weight of her actions. Miss Franke is committed to taking responsibility for the part she played in the events leading up to her incarceration. Now, that's great that she is actively taking responsibility for the actions that she placed on her children. I'm glad that she apologized to her family during her court hearing. I do think, though, that it's really hard for me to forgive her or believe her. And this is my opinion only. Somebody that is willing to engage in these types of activities, perform types of acts on their children like she was doing, it shouldn't take incarceration to finally understand your wrongdoing. I think a part of her did know what she was doing. I don't think somebody can be completely manipulated into performing the acts that she did if she didn't want to actively participate or thought that they would be effective. I'm lacking all empathy for this woman. I really am. And it is because at my stage in life and as a mother myself, to provide empathy for somebody that is a middle-aged woman who's had a family for a very long time, who has already treated some of her children in ways that they would prefer probably to not have been treated. I think it took incarceration for her to realize that what she was doing was that bad. I think it took incarceration for her to feel like she actually has to do better to get out of prison and to ever regain any type of relationship with her current family, which I don't know if she can gain any type of relationship back with her family. And I think that she has a lot of things that maybe she mentally has to deal with herself, because the acts that she performed on her two children, which we talk about later in the video, is so heinous and horrendous that somebody has to be in a mental state to be able to do that. Most people in the world could never do that to their children. Most people. My personal perspective is that she has to make these statements, because if she doesn't, then it will be completely her fault and she's going to have to own it. I do really feel like you should forgive people and you should have forgiveness in your heart. But I just don't know how people are able to do this. It's just hard for me to think that you could allow this to happen from May to August and not one time think, damn, this is wrong. Like, what am I doing? I don't know if she wouldn't have continued to do this as long as she didn't get caught. What I'm about to talk about moving forward, it is about the child abuse that she allowed her kids to endure and that she was an active participant in and allowed to happen. But before I move forward, I just want to let you know the things I'm about to say actually really bother me internally. Like, they actually really bother me. I hate envisioning what she did to her two children. I hope that they find some way to move forward from this, because a mother doing this to her kids is something that I wouldn't want to have to figure out how to get over. But in this plea agreement, Franke admits to torturing her son from May 22nd of 2023 to August 30th of 2023. She forced him to work long days and long hours, doing physical labor. Some of this was working outside in hot summer heat. But he had sunburns that were blistering and they were extremely painful. He was denied food, and sometimes when he wasn't denied food, he was only giving plain meals, while other children surrounding him, other people that he had to eat with, would be given flavorful meals. So he would just be basically singled out. And he was actually isolated from other people, without books, notebooks, electronics. I mean, just straight up imprisonment, and acting like he is just this horrible, horrible individual. Initially, when all of this started, was just forced to do wall sits, carry heavy items up and down the stairs for hours upon hours. And the boy was denied water even when he was outside working in these crazy conditions in the hot heat. And when he got or snuck water, he got immediately in trouble. After all of the, I wouldn't say like torture that her son, who was, by the way, only 11 years old at the time, was going through, he did try to escape in July. But when he tried to escape, the problem that happened was he got caught and he wasn't able to escape that time. So when he didn't escape, obviously that led to even more punishment and torture to him being done. But when he wasn't able to escape, what they ended up doing was bounding his wrists and ankles. And they used handcuffs, 2 sets of handcuffs to bound his wrists and ankles. I'm assuming he's wearing these handcuffs for hours upon hours upon hours, and it is to prevent him from escaping again. And what ends up happening is he ends up getting injuries to his wrists and his ankles. So those bindings of the cuffs on his wrist and his ankles definitely caused damage to the muscle and tissue. So instead of taking him to an actual doctor to have a doctor take care of these wounds, because they obviously didn't want anybody to realize what was going on, ask questions, or have authorities get involved, they decided they were going to use homeopathic remedies to heal these areas that were severely damaged. And what they did afterwards is then they wrapped his wrist and his ankles with duct tape to then place these cuffs back on his wrist and his ankles, because no, honey, you can't try to run away again. And we're going to keep you bound and in place where you belong. It is gross. There's no way to describe the situation besides disgusting. And unfortunately, it gets worse. So during the plea agreement and the statements that were brought out, it was also said that Franke did this to her son. She would kick him wearing boots. She would submerge his head in water. She would also cut off the circulation to his breathing, like cut off his oxygen by smothering him. So she physically performed these acts on him. How can somebody manipulate you into doing that to your kids? I mean, you're not mentally right, because you know in your brain what you're doing is, you know right from wrong. People know right from wrong. Whether you think that your kid is possessed or not, you know what's right from wrong. And also, who made you God? But I'm really curious how she thought that this was okay, because I know that it's not. You and I probably both know that it's not right to do this, yet she convinced herself that it was, and somebody manipulated her into thinking that was okay. I don't care. You're a grown woman. You got a mind of your own. Unfortunately, I think you're weak if somebody was able to talk you into this. I think you're weak, because nobody could talk me into doing this to my son. Nobody. The fact that she was able to convince her to do this says so much about Franke herself. But everything done to him was because of love. Everything done to him was for acts of love. This was all love. That's what she would continue to tell him. Like, I'm only doing this because I love you. That is not an act of love. Love shouldn't be that painful physically. The agreement also states that the boy's younger sister, whom is 9 years old, well, she was 9 at the time. I don't know if she still is 9. She was also denied food and water, and she was isolated from people as well. She didn't get as much of the trauma and torture that the son got. She got less of that, which, I mean, I guess great, but I mean, still what she had done to her was not right. She would have to be outside for hours upon hours in the smoldering hot heat and without shoes. She would have to run repeatedly on dirt roads with no shoes on. She also had to perform physical tasks. She was injured at least 2 times because of Franke's treatment. And repeatedly, Franke told her that she was evil and possessed. The punishments were done, and Franke had convinced probably herself as well as her daughter that they were necessary for her to be obedient and to repent. And those things were being done to her in order to help her. Because, yeah, torturing the shit out of you definitely helps everybody be better. Especially at 9. So Franke will obviously testify against Jody Hildebrandt because obviously they're not on the same side now because that ship has sailed. And in return, the Washington County Attorney's Office will remain neutral for future hearings before the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole. So let's get on to Franke's husband. I definitely think that we should put Franke's husband in here because I'm still dumbfounded that he really had no idea that his wife was going down this road, that this was going on. He didn't have any suspicion. He didn't feel like he needed to knock down a bunch of doors, contact neighbors, break through everything. I mean, how manipulated was this individual? How emotionally was he attached to her? And where's your balls, bro? Franke's husband did file for divorce in November of last year in 2023. And it came to no shock to Ruby. I bet she did see it coming, just especially with everything going on and him also probably trying to get custody of the children. But they had already been previously separated for 13 months. Kevin, Franke's attorney, had stated that he did not initially want the separation, that he would do anything for his family, and that he was willing to work through their family problems. But they had not set any structure in place with their separation of 13 months. He is putting the blame on Jody and Ruby, saying that basically whatever they said about the separation was what he was doing. So they made out the rules, is my understanding of what I had found and read about. I'd also heard, this is not, I guess, from the most reliable source, but I do want to put this in here, that he did know about connections, which he should have. It was on the internet. He also was not really able to see his children much at all during their separation. She made it very difficult for him to see the kids, which I think is pretty messed up. And that's why I said, grow a pair, Kevin. They're your children. Why weren't you banging down every single door and making all your phone calls and making sure that you got to see your children? And I just think, like I said, it's a cop-out to just say, well, she emotionally manipulated me and I just kind of allowed them to make the rules because I just did. I mean, I'm saying I think that you should take some responsibility. You should have done more. I really wish I could have read an article or seen something that said, I should have done more. I knew that she was very forceful on these children. She expected so much from them from a very young age. And I kind of allowed her to take the reins of everything, and I didn't man up against her. I allowed myself to not be able to see my children for the 13 months of our separation as much as I would have liked to have. I may not have been the main culprit in this torment and torture that my 2 children did endure for a couple of more than a couple of months. But on the flip side, I still sat back and didn't do anything. I think it's really convenient just to say, well, she emotionally manipulated me and I just kind of didn't know what to do because I was emotionally tormented and drained from her. Man up, bro. This only happened to these children because everybody around them failed them. But when he filed for divorce, this is what was said. And there's also a domestic violence injunction, which requires them basically not to talk about each other. They cannot commit acts of violence or disparage the other or their children in any way. And this will remain in place until their divorce is finalized. Obviously, their documents are private and they are sealed, so we cannot see them, but I don't know. What do you guys think about all of this? So this is the end of the video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay safe, stay kind, stay alert, stay wonderful, stay beautiful. Have a wonderful rest of your day, wonderful rest of your weekend. I love you guys. Thanks again for tuning in. And until the next video, I'll see you then. Bye.